Hello and welcome to the program. My name is Marcus Carlson. Today we're in the old stock exchange building here in Marseille. We're here for a conference called the Forum de Marseille, which brings together businessmen and women from around the Mediterranean. And one of the participants is Philippe de Fontaine-Vive. He is the Vice President over at the European Investment Bank. Welcome to the program.
Thank you and welcome to Marseille.
Thanks very much indeed. Now, hopes are building up that Eurozone leaders are doing something about the debt crisis here in Europe. Are you an optimist or a pessimist at this stage?
I'm very realistic. We are just after the agreement in Slovakia, and that's a good news to see that a government and a parliament have accepted to overcome the internal difficulties to succeed at the European level. So now we are preparing the second step, which will be an agreement on the 23rd of October. And the fact that we are working on a plan is something with, like you say, is creating hope.
Now, you were referring there to the EU summit, which is coming up on the 23rd of October. What kind of actions specifically do you want to see coming out of that meeting?
First of all, an agreement. What we need is to show that European leaders are able to take decisions together inside the Eurozone and with the consent of the other European Union members. This is something which is much welcome, and I think that they will address not only sovereign issues but also the bank questions.
So you're expecting a bank recapitalization then?
It's not something which has to be done first of all by the government. It will be done first by the market, by the banks themselves, but they need to be reassured that there is a frame under which hope will come, and you have seen that the European Banking Association is providing the technical basis for it.
Now, there's talk of the need of looking once again at Greece and its second bailout deal. For instance, having private banks take a larger hit, take a bigger haircut on their Greek exposure. What do you say about that? Do we need to go back to the Greek issue and look again at Greek debts?
We are looking at the Greek issue in a positive way. We are the European Investment Bank, which means that we are there to finance real investment, growth, and so we are working on providing some new sources of growth for Greece, particularly. If you remember the speech of Mr. Barroso in front of the European Parliament, we are building up with the European Commission a new program for providing financing to the small and medium-sized enterprises. He has accepted to provide 500 million of new public guarantees, with which we will be able to deliver in between 1.2 billion or 1.5 billion new loans for the SMEs. So this is not only something about public finance, but it's also something about real growth, which has to come back in Greece.
Now, what other actions could you, as the European Investment Bank, take to stave off the crisis? There's talk, for instance, of using the European Investment Bank to leverage up the Eurozone bailout fund. I know that the European Investment Bank, you've previously come out to deny that you were involved in that. But what's the situation now? Is that situation perhaps changing?
We are, as you know, a conservative bank because we are owned by the European citizens, so we have to be conservative. And as you said, we are not involved in any idea of leveraging. We are there to finance real growth. That is to say, if there are technical advices to be given, as we have done for the new European Fund for Stability, why not? We are there as the property, if I may say so, of the European citizen.
But you're there as an advisor purely, or not to boost the EFSF?
But we are there as an advisor, and we will do exactly what the member states want us to do, but our duty, our mandate is really to be financing real growth for the real economy.
So, as I say, you don't foresee a larger role, so to speak, for the European Investment Bank in the years to come?
We are not discussing it.
All right, let's turn to the other side of the Mediterranean, the southern shores of the Mediterranean. A lot has happened there this year. I suppose that's an understatement. We have the revolutions in Tunisia, in Egypt, and now latest in Libya. How do you look upon stability now in that region?
First of all, for the Mediterranean people on the south shore of the Mediterranean, And for the European people on the north shore of the Mediterranean, this is good news. What does it mean? It means that we have a shared area where we want growth and democracy. That's exactly what the European Union is there for. So it's first of all a very good year, I would even say an historical year. So we have to do everything possible to support this transition to democracy in the so-called new Deauville partnership that here in Marseille was supported by the finance minister of the G8 with all the important Arab countries on the transition 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm. Now, you're referring there to the agreement by G8 leaders to send 40 billion euros worth of aid to North Africa. How large a part are you in that?
If you remember precisely, we did have say with the finance ministers that we are ready to provide $38 billion before the end of year 2013 for the 4 countries which have entered into democratic transition. And inside the 38 billion, the IB alone does represent $7.5 billion. So I would say we are one of the main finance provider, which is natural because we are the most important investor for the time being in the region.
Now, where are you in the investment stages, if you will, in countries like Tunisia and Egypt? How much of that money that you referred to have you been able to put into those 2 countries at this stage?
Let's be concrete, and you have begun by Tunisia. So roughly, we will try to go at the level of $600 to $800 million a year in Tunisia. We have already approved 2 loans, one for public works. All over the country, we will modernize roads, so this will provide a lot of jobs around Tunisia. And the other one is to create a plant in the center of Tunisia, in a city called Medila, and this will create some organics that could be exported from this country to create some jobs and revenues. And we have also already agreed to speed up credit lines for the small and medium-sized enterprises in Tunisia. I will go back to Tunisia again and again before the end of the year, around the 9th of December. And as it is an important success that we need for all of us, European and Mediterranean, we will organize a regional conference for financing SMEs in Tunisia just at the beginning of next year to show that this is a success story again.
What is the investment climate, though, in these countries like at the moment? If we look at Tunisia, there's an upcoming election, and there are some concerns of that. In Egypt, for instance, we have seen fresh turmoil in that country. How would you characterize, as I say, the investment climate?
First of all, let us say that all of us are surprised by the speed and the efficiency of the revolution in Tunisia. As you mentioned previously, revolution began on the 14th of January, and the first general democratic election will take place on the 23rd of October. 9 months. Do you know any country experiencing a general, peaceful, democratic process like this in only 9 months?
Still, though, a lot of Tunisians are frustrated at this stage.
They are pleased to have, for the first time in their life, the opportunity to vote freely on the 23rd of October. And by definition, regarding investment climate, a lot of investors that you could meet here in Marseille during this forum are waiting for the result of the election, which is 1 week from now, which is nothing if you look at the business. So a lot of them are preparing investment opportunities to take place just after the election if this business climate is settling down.
But for now, a lot of private investors are in a wait-and-see mode, if you will.
They are in a wait and investment mode, I would say. That is to say, ready to invest, but waiting to be sure that this process is going on.
What kind of risks are there in your view?
The first risk is that someone could try to disrupt this transition, which is a difficult process that we have experienced in the eastern part of Europe, that we have supported. And so the result of it is this market economy that we have at the eastern part of Europe. This is the way to follow. Some people could try to interrupt it.
Just very briefly here towards the end, are you looking at Libya at this stage? Are you eyeing projects in Libya and to support that country throughout its transition?
We are the property, as I said, of the European citizen, which means that outside European Union we go where the EU leaders and the EU Parliament want us to go. For the time being, there is no political decision which requests us to go to Libya. So we are not able legally to invest in Libya. But by definition, we are preparing ourselves from Tunisia and from Marseille and the rest of Europe. So we are looking closely at what happens. There are a lot of resources in Libya, which is a big difference compared to other countries like Tunisia or Morocco, but there is a lack of public service. So a lot of technical assistance and infrastructure investment, like we did in Poland or in other Eastern European countries, would be the way to follow. We stand ready, but we wait for the EU leaders and Parliament to decide on.
All right, Philippe de Fontaine-Vive from the European Investment Bank, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us.
Thank you. See you soon.
All right, with that, we're going to wrap up this program from Marseille. Goodbye.